Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mindset Wednesday. Today, our topic is why we should breathe more out of our nose. That is a topic I've been really into lately. I'm also reading a book that is called Breath by James Nestor, which some of their informations are out of that book, but I'm not fully through with that book. But I still wanted to get the message out just to get some of you guys thinking about the whole topic, because breathing is something that we all do and something that most of us don't think about because we just do it. It's like walking as an adult. We just walk. We don't have to think about how we walk. But it's definitely still a big part that can contribute to our health and to our well-being. So I thought let's just do a quick Mindset Wednesday to that topic just to get you guys thinking about it. Before we start, affirmations and gratitude. My affirmation for today is I'm ready for it all, because the next few weeks and months are going to have a lot of changes with it. So I'm ready for it all. And my gratitude for today is I'm grateful for all the opportunities that come my way. That's my gratitude. As I just said, today's Mindset Wednesday is going to be quite short. It's just going to be a quick information message getting out to you guys just to get you thinking. As I said, the topic is why we should breathe more out of our nose and not out of our mouth. I'm a big mouth breather. I feel like that's just, I always felt like my nose it's hard for me to breathe out of my nose. That's what I always felt like, and I just lived with it. I never really put too much thought into it. But we're gonna dive into why mouth breathing is bad. I also started to catch myself and just to see how often I breathe out of my mouth, and also be more aware of breathing out of my nose in the past few weeks. But yeah, exactly. So one of the first things monks actually learn, I heard that from Jay Shetty, is they learn how to breathe, which is so interesting. And he also partially explained it as the breath follows us our whole life. Like our breath changes if we are stressed, if we are scared, if we are happy. Like if based on our emotion, our breath can change so much, which means if we can control that breath, we can oftentimes also control the situations better, which is also a really good point. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, most of us breathe in a way that does not benefit us. And then do you even know if you're a nose or a mouth breather? Like, do you really know that you actually breathe out of your nose most of the time? Because I feel like a lot of us think that we are nose breathers, but in the end we're still breathing out of our mouth pretty much 80% of the time, which is why it's so important to be aware of it all. And 30 to 50% of adults breathe through their mouth, which can cause a lot of health issues. And it can also change our facial structure. And I found this picture, which that picture partly started everything for me. So I'm gonna show it to you guys. It's this one. So on the top, you see somebody who's a nose breather, and on the bottom, you see someone who's a mouth breather. So breathing through our mouth for many years, growing up, whatever, can change our facial structure in crazy ways, as you can see. It's like our faces are falling down, which forces our chin to go back, which forces us to have smaller airways. It also changes our nose, so it gets more crooked. Our eyes look more tired. The cheekbones are not defined, and our teeth are crooked. And a fun fact about the teeth, apparently, many years ago, the people that lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago had all perfectly straight teeth. The more modern thing that our teeth are so crooked because our jaws are getting smaller and smaller throughout the years, which causes our mouth to have less space. And one part that also happens a lot of times if we're mouth breathers for many years is that our mouth, instead of going wider, which it does, as you can see on the top picture, it goes up. So it opens like this, which means our nose has way less space to breathe or to get air in, which makes it also harder for us to breathe, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, as you see on the top person who breathes through the nose has defined cheekbones, straight teeth, a wider face, straight nose, the eyes are not as tired, the jaw is well developed, and they have a good airway size. So a lot of differences, and I think it's so crazy because even if you look at a lot of people outside, you can often easily tell this person is a nose breather and this person is a mouth breather just by looking at the person, which is so crazy to think about. Yeah, that's what got me into the whole process of looking at my breath and what I can do to change that. Exactly. So in 1981, there was actually an experiment that was done by I forgot his name, I don't know. But if you Google it, 1981 experiment on monkeys, they actually closed the nose airways from monkeys to see how how the face changes within days and months, which of course it's not good that they did that on a living being. But if you look at those pictures, it's crazy because the monkey's face just fell and had, as we just saw in the other pictures, a lot of those things were happening to the monkey, or monkeys. So you can see there as well how crazy it changes if you don't breathe through your nose. And of course, there are a lot of health risks that come with mouth breathing. And I wrote some of them down. Of course, there's many more. And I really recommend anyone to start reading that book, which is called Breath by James Nestor. And there's also some other books that are really good from what I heard. But yeah, some of them are, of course, having a dry mouth and a bad breath, which of course, if you're constantly breathing through your mouth just gets dry, which that causes the bad breath. You're also inhaling unfiltered air because your nose filters that air. You have allergic reaction because of not filtering the air. That can also cause asthma. It can cause tooth decay, gum inflammation, snoring, sleep apnea, teeth and jaw abnormalities. And it also weakens our physical performance and impacts our endurance. And there's even studies that suggest that mouth breathing could make us dumber. Yeah, so coming back to the physical performance and the endurance, in the book, he was saying that there was a study where they had people on indoor bikes, and they were biking the same amount of time and the same amount, like they went higher in speed and everything, so their heart rate also got up. And the first round, they had to do it breathing through their mouth. And the second round, they had to do it breathing through their nose. And the interesting thing is that the first round, they all started breathing faster and faster and had to take in more air. They were out of breath quite fast because they were breathing out of their mouth. And the rates just went crazy. Whereas the second round, their breath got slower because they were breathing through the nose. They were calmer overall, and they were also not as fast out of breath as they were when they were breathing through their mouth. So that's quite interesting that our physical performance can change as well. And it also can cause us to feel stressed, because if we're breathing so much and if we're just constantly breathing bad air, then that can cause us to feel not good. Right. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of benefits to breathing out of our nose, and some of them can be as opposed to the other side. We're filtering foreign particles like dust, allergens, and pollen, which helps us to prevent them from entering our lungs, which can also help us to not get allergic reactions, and our nose also warms and moisturizes the air that we breathe in. That can that makes it easier for our body to accept the air, and to makes it that also makes it easier for our lungs to use the air. Then let me see. Nose breathing can also help to widen blood vessels, which can help improve oxygen circulation in our body. It can slow down our breath, and there we go back to the example of the indoor biking. And it can improve lung capacity, lowers our risk for allergies and hay fever. It can help to aid our immune system. It can lower our risk for snoring and sleep apnea. It can support the correct formation of our teeth and mouth, and many more. So as we can see, there's a lot of benefits to breathing out of our nose. So ideally, we should be breathing through our nose and in our belly. So my friend just told me a story where she had a lot of neck issues because she was breathing out of her shoulders. So it went like, and of course, if we do that all the time, our shoulders are gonna hurt. So ideally, you're breathing into your stomach and out through your nose, as well in through your nose. But yeah, so that's that. Then if we don't use our nose, which is also a cool fact, if we don't use our nose, it's like not using a muscle. It gets weaker, so our nose closes up, which makes it harder for us to breathe through our nose. So if we want to be better, have it easier to breathe out of our nose, we need to train our nose. That way it opens up, and then we can breathe more easily. Another thing that they do is, because we should also technically have our mouth closed while sleeping, they have like a little tape that is specifically for skin. Of course, you can't just use any tape, but they use a little tape to close your mouth during their sleep, and that can help the no snoring and the sleep apnea and all of that, which also can help us to sleep better overall. Then there's of course meditations that we can try to focus more on our breath and how we breathe. We can also work on catching ourselves throughout the day to just see how we breathe. And then of course there's a book that we can read from James Nestor, and yeah, and then try out. And then the last thing I wanted to say is trying to work out with your mouth closed and see how that goes. Because most of us, I think, when we get out of breath, we just start breathing out of our mouth because that's just easier. But to just try to close your mouth and see how that goes for once. There was also this one last example that I want to throw in, where there was a coach. So coaches back then in the years when they had their football players or whatever run around the field, they would give them a cup of water, and then they had to put that cup of water in their mouth, keep it there, and then start running. And then afterwards, they had to spit that water out, and they would check it, like how much water is in the cup, if it's still the same or not. And that way, the people were forced to breathe out of their nose, of course, because their mouth was filled with water. So that would also be interesting to try out if anybody wants to, of course. But yeah, I hope this gave a little bit of insight why nose breathing is better for us, and I hope this makes somebody think about their own way of breathing and maybe change it as well. Yeah, that was our quick Mindset Wednesday for today, and I see you guys next time. Bye.